And welcome to the Cincy Sports Scene podcast. This is episode number 122. I'm Dave, and as always, I am joined by my co-host Sam, who's in the middle, and Charlie, who is on my left. Together, we are bringing you all the latest sports news from Cincinnati. Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
So we would appreciate you hitting that like and subscribe button, sharing with your friends, and helping us become the number one place for all the latest Cincy sports news and information. So, gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Not too bad, except for my back, but other than that, we're doing all right.
Uh-oh.
Old man problems.
I was gonna say, yeah. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Yeah, pretty normal week.
Well, that's good. Speaking of the week, this week we've got a packed episode for you. The Bearcats are fighting for their tournament hopes. The question that we might pose is Wes Miller the right man to steer the ship? FC Cincinnati took a tough loss, but there are reasons to stay optimistic. Plus, the Reds are gearing up for the season. The big question is who's going to be stepping up as the fifth starter if Abbott or Louder are not ready. And then should we be concerned about Spencer Steer? We'll get to that all in the week that was. And of course, we have our rankings, and we want to see where our Cincinnati sports teams fall in the championship hierarchy. We'll break that down as well. Then we'll have our trivia, test your sports knowledge with our weekly trivia question. Think you got the answer? Be the first to email us at Cincy Sports, or actually I should say at csspodcast@gmail.com. We changed the Gmail or the email to a Gmail account, so please, make that notation. Or you can always hit us up on Instagram or Twitter at Cincy Sports Scene. And finally, the topic of the week. It's time to play Commissioner for the Day. If you had the power to change one thing in Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, or college football or basketball, what's your first move? We're going to make our calls, and we want to hear yours. And all that and more is coming up here in just a second. So to get things kicked off, we are going to go to the week that was. Crawley, let's go ahead and talk UC basketball. Overall, they split the week 1-1. Overall, they are 17-12, 7-11 in Big 12 play. Thoughts on the week?
I guess you could say the week was expected. A close game with Baylor that they won at home. They had to have that game. Baylor's not playing all that well. So compared to how they were playing when UC first played them and got rolled. So that was a good win. So Jizzle and Day have kind of taken on the reins now of being their two scorers and have done a pretty good job with that. Even yesterday with the Houston loss, which again was expected. I was going to be very, very surprised for them to go into Houston and win. They've lost. That's now, I think I heard on the radio today, 12 straight losses to Houston, which is not good. But, Jizzle and Day scored, I think, 37 of their, whatever they scored yesterday. What'd they have? 66 or something?
64.
So 37 came from two guys. Lukosius, Skillings, I feel have kind of dropped off the face of the earth. Lukosius had his shoulder injury, so he missed 3 or 4 games. Skillings, I don't know what his issue is. So whether it's the knee still bother him, whatever, but he's just not effective at all anymore. And his minutes have gotten less and less and less. Josh Reed's taken on, who basically averaged 2 or 3 points a game for the first half of the season. And then had that little spurt where he was getting double digits, but then yesterday went back to reality where he scored 3 or 4 points. So yeah, they're in a tough spot. For them to make the tournament, which I would have bet quite a bit of money on that they were going to make the tournament at the beginning of the year. They're going to have to win these last 2 games and then probably win, minimally 2 games in the Big 12 tournament, maybe even a third game. I mean, they may need to make like the semifinals to have a shot to make the NCAA. So not in a good spot, but I've been very, very, one of the more disappointing seasons that I've dealt with in any Cincinnati sport for at least the last 5 years or so, maybe even more than that, just based on what I thought they could do at the beginning of the year. So that's where I stand.
What about you,
Yeah,
Sam?
I agree with you there a lot, probably. I just have like a side note about Houston. Like, they're just awful to watch. I hate watching Houston basketball. It's just, it's terrible. Let's throw 5 dudes out there that are all 6'4" to 6'6", can't shoot for anything, but they try really hard, so they get a whole bunch of offensive rebounds, and they foul you every single time they're on defense, thinking the refs aren't going to call it, and they never do, because they're not going to slow down the game like that. It's an awful watch. It's just brutal. I hate it. But that being said, I didn't think UC handled the physicality well enough yesterday. They had too many guys, especially knowing Houston crashes the offensive glass like they do, just standing around, not finding a body, just trying to, hope the ball comes and finds them rather than going and getting the ball. So, I mean, whenever you play Houston, you've got to block them out. Now, I don't care if you pick up a couple fouls blocking guys out. You've got to show that physicality there and clear dudes out of the way. Otherwise, Houston's just going to eat you alive on the offensive glass, and they really did that yesterday, I thought. You mentioned Crawley, Skillings. He's terrible. Every time the dude touches the ball, he ends up on the floor. I don't know, like, if that's part of his knee, he just doesn't trust it, or if I don't remember him being this awkward. I mean, he looks really awkward out there right now, and I don't know why. It's not a good thing to see. I think his minutes need to be reduced even more. If he doesn't play, he doesn't play, and that's kind of the point where I'm at with him.
Well, let's talk about that moving forward. In our intro, I mentioned is Wes the right guy to right the ship here? This is year 4 for Wes. If he misses the tourney again with high expectations, I personally think he'll be back just because of the buyout. I don't think UC is going to pony up. I think it's $9 million this year for the buyout. If I'm not mistaken, it might be a little more.
Yeah, it's like 9.9 or something.
9.9, but it drops after next year. So I just don't know if he's the right guy. I think the recruiting, it says he's getting the guys,
there.
but then that goes just like what we talked about the Bengals early on with Lou. It's no development from your players, and that falls on coaching. And I don't know. Thoughts on Wes and moving forward here if we don't make the tourney. Obviously, if we make the tourney, he's got another year or two.
Yeah, I think our thoughts are just going to be thoughts because he's coming back. There's no way that they're going to pay that buyout. So at least for one more year, he's got to, again, he got a couple really good top recruits coming in, from the high school ranks, and he's done a good job with the transfer portal. So I would expect 2 to 3 quality guys, from the transfer portal as well. But then what do you do with them? And we're year 4, and in today's basketball, it doesn't take 4 years anymore.
No.
That's the thing. People keep harping on that, supporters and things, but that's not 2025 college basketball. I mean, you look at Louisville right now, who's like 16-2 in the ACC.
St. John's
in 1 year. Louisville was done in 1 year with the new coach.
Yeah. Right.
St. John's 2 years. I mean, they got a lot better even last year. You can't do the old, well, we need a whole recruiting class to go through anymore stuff. So he's got a lot of things working against him from that standpoint, but he'll be back. I'll give him the year, see what he can do, but he has not shown me that he can develop players. His staff can develop players, and he's great on the front end with the recruiting, but the game time, making these players, bringing these guys together and having a high quality team on the floor has not happened in 4 years. with talent too. So that's where I have serious doubts at this point.
That's my biggest issue is the talent's there, especially this year. The talent is there. I mean, they were consensus top 25 team coming into the year. I mean, people thought that they were going to be really good, and they're not.
Well,
so I mean that's got to fall. It falls on somebody. It has to.
But here's another piece that I don't think, and I don't know how much it weighs, but it certainly does a little bit. After the Xavier game, West finally won that game, so that gave them a little breathing room. But since Xavier lost to Georgetown, they have won 10 out of the last 13. They are 19-10 overall. They're 11-7 in the Big East. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They finished the year with Providence and Butler, who are both 6-11 in the Big East. If Xavier makes it because we quit covering Xavier because one, we really didn't watch Xavier a lot, and two, they were playing like crap. And all of a sudden, since we stopped covering them, they've been on this, win. And if Xavier turns their program around from where they were in the crosstown shootout, and UC has gone the opposite direction, does that weigh?
Yeah, but we also, whenever we did the coaches ranking thing, all three of us put Sean Miller above Wes Miller.
Yes.
So it's not like it's not like we think you also have Big East people don't like when I say this, but they're wrong. The Big East is not as good of a conference as the Big 12. Bottom line, it's not even close. The Big 12 doesn't have a Providence and a Butler, and there's no absolute bottom feeders like that. Those teams wouldn't win they'd win 1 or 2 games in the Big 12. Xavier would not be 11-7 if they were in the Big 12. They just wouldn't. So they got an easier conference, but they probably have a better coach, and somebody who's got more, has a lot, and he has had a lot more time and, time to gather results. And coach had a big time program, in Arizona and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I don't factor that in, necessarily from Wes Miller's, job security. But I think it's pretty simple at this point. I think Satterfield's in the same position. I think they each have 1 more year. The buyout will be down, to a more manageable number for both of them after 1 more year, and then it's split up or shut up in 1 more year. I think Zach Taylor should be in that same position. I think we got a lot of, Cincinnati coaches that are in that same position.
Yeah.
So
I think Noonan
David
and Francona are the only 2 safe ones, right?
And I'd hesitate on Noonan just because of how soccer works. That's the only reason.
True. That is true.
Nobody has job security in soccer. Nobody. I do want to touch on Wes Miller again, just kind of UC basketball in general. So they missed the tournament. It'll be 6 straight years where they're not in the NCAA tournament. That's insane for a program that UC fans think very highly of, and the athletic department thinks very highly of. They think it's a top basketball program in the country. You can't miss the tournament 6 years in a row. So on that hand, if you think of yourself as one of the big boys, you can't have a coach that's gone 0 for 4 going into year 5. You just can't. No real program would do that. North Carolina is going to fire an alumni this year because he missed the tournament 2 years in a row. After making a Final Four, or I think even a championship game. Might have just been a Final Four, but I think it was a championship game 3 years ago. So, if you're a real program, those are the moves that you make. So that's what I'll question Cunningham and the athletic department, is if you want to be a real program or not. And to the UC fans that say, oh, well, we're going to lose these top recruits. So what? He's not winning with them. So what do you care? Mick Cronin wasn't getting top recruits, and yet he was winning 25 games every single year, even though we all hated him. So I don't know.
The story of Cincinnati sports right there. And our fans are so fickle, right?
Wes Miller is more liked than Mick Cronin ever was. Yeah. And he's done jack.
Yeah, I think Wes
Personnel.
Miller's gotten better talent in than
Mhm.
Mick Cronin did, but the UC was more successful under Mick Cronin, so that's that.
In a tougher conference. I mean, Mick Cronin was in the Big East for a good while.
So yeah.
All right, let's. Speaking of a tough loss for FC Cincinnati last night, lost 4-1 to Philadelphia. They won against Montega 1-1, and they advance on in the Cup Challenge there. This is just a blip, right? I mean, we're not concerned too much about FC. I know it's only game 2 of the MLS season. They looked really good in game 1, looked really bad in game 2. So it's just a little blip. I mean, you guys are soccer experts, so talk to me.
I think so, especially when you're playing in 2 competitions, when you're playing in the CONCACAF Champions League. Noonan made the comment, like, he didn't really rotate the squad a whole lot for that midweek game. And the way MLS's roster rules are designed, it's really tough for you, if they don't let you break the rules like Miami, for you to compete in 2 competitions. Like, your quality of depth just isn't there. So I think guys were tired on Saturday, and I think early last year, like game 3 or 4, we had a very similar result where we lost the game like 4-2, 4-1, something like that, right after a CONCACAF Champions League game. So I mean, it's going to happen. I'd be more worried about it, if we see results like this still in May and June. But I'm not too worried about it right now. I would like to see more goals being scored. But I think that'll take a minute just for everybody to gel, especially all the new attackers that they've got.
Yeah, I didn't see the game last night. Did Orejano play? I don't even know if he played last night or not.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so they're still missing him. Even though I thought he was
still
going to be
missing
back.
Miazga.
Right, and I haven't heard. I mean, I don't know if he's coming back anytime soon. So, which is a problem because I think he's still their captain, their number 1 defensive player. If he's only here the second half of the year, at least he'll be there. But they got to get through that till then. So they got just incorporating all these new faces that have talent. It seems like, but still incorporating them into the team. I know 2 years ago when they had their best season ever, this Supporter Shield, they lost to St. Louis like 5 or 6-1, and that was like mid-season even. So you get these kind of results in soccer. So yeah, if they keep every other game they're losing 4-1, 3-1, 5, that kind of stuff, that's a problem. But it's way too early. I mean, we're really not even we're just in the March, so we'll see.
Right, and the weather's been up and down, up and down,
right.
up and down,
yeah.
And that always plays an effect in it as well. It looks like they've got Tigris and the Euphrates coming up next. Right, Tigris and Toronto, and their next 2. And I think Toronto is bobblehead night. So those of you out there in Cincinnati that love to correct bobbleheads, you can go to TQL and get your bobblehead for the Toronto game. We're going to move on to the Reds in spring training. And, I guess the 2 concerns I have are questions for you and see where you guys are at. The first one with Abbott, being pushed back a little bit because of his shoulder being tired last season, and then he had the flu bug, so he's not really pitching as much as he hasn't made a start yet, and I don't know when he's scheduled to start. He made the comments whenever they tell me, I'll go out there and take the ball. But he wants to be healthy, and he wants to be healthy for the entire year. So if he starts on the DL and he doesn't make the opening day roster because of the injury, the setback, and Rhett Lauder still hasn't begun throwing yet, who are we looking at for the 5th spot? I mean, Ashcraft.
I mean, he's been starting.
Yeah,
he's been the starter so far, the extra starter, and in spring training. So I would assume it would be him right now.
So if Abbott comes back, he pitches 1 or 2 games down.
He's ready to go. He's got to be in there, I think.
Well, I'm just saying, if he comes back 1 or 2 games down in Louisville, pitches well, comes back up, then who are we moving? I mean, one, we've got to make a spot for someone. 2, does Martinez or does Ashcraft go to the bullpen?
It won't be Martinez. Martinez has been a star.
Yeah.
Like, you're not moving him to the bullpen right now.
Well, I'm just saying that, under the old regime, he'd be.
I mean, who knows under the David Bippies, 5 different starters out there, and or openers or whatever.
Yeah, we'd have bullpen days, and 2 of the first 5 start games, or whatever, be bullpen guys. So yeah, I mean, the logical thing is Ashcraft right now, and then when Abbott comes back and show that he can start again, then now if Ashcraft goes out and throws 6 shutout innings, then you got to start him. So you can't make any decision until you see how these guys do. So
right.
But on paper,
plan for it, right?
Yeah, but on paper, I think it's pretty easy. Abbott would go in the starting and to be their 5th starter, and Ashcraft would go slide into the bullpen.
Yeah, and I still have a feeling that injuries and everything, it all kind of works itself out, which is why they went out and got the depth. And I mean, Lodolo's still probably due for an injury here too. So
they all are.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So
Abbott was hurt the last part of last year, and he's still hurt. So whatever is going on with him. So it's let's and you're going to go.
Our training staff is,
and you're going to go to Steer, and Steer's the same thing. I mean, he comes out and says that this has been bothering me since since late last season. Well, why? And why is it still bothering you? Like, you have. I just don't get when you have access to the best trainers in the world. Like, you can go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anytime you want, to anybody you want. That these guys who are supposed to be athletes, professional athletes, can't get their body right. Like, I just don't get that.
And that's my concern is last year he was playing with it, so it affected his throwing. He couldn't throw, but I think it affected his swing because he just could not get right, and he big time sophomore slump, and he's got a cortisone shot now. He's just DH. They're taking it real slow with him. And, my question is, okay, if he had couldn't get it right last year, like you said, Carly, he had all of off season to rest and recover, rehabilitate it. And it's still, to me, that could be like surgery, right? I mean, I know he wants to try to play. He wants to be ready by opening day, but if he is only a DH, okay. If he's playing first base because he can't play anywhere else with the throwing arm, the shoulder injury, then you've got CES, Candelario in the mix for DH third base.
Well, you'd almost you figure that CES and Steer would kind of rotate at the DH spot. Mm-hmm. And then Candelario at third, but where does that leave Gavin Lux at? Again, this is the problem that they from the time they traded for Lux. Where do you play him at? You have too many guys that, and the other thing is they're not very good defensive players either. It'd be different if Lux was like a great second baseman, and they're like, well, he's going to be our second baseman. We'll move McLean to third or something, but he's not, and he's even worse of a third baseman. Candelario was terrible last year at third, so it's like. Just again, this is the Nick Kroll problem. This isn't a Reds roster problem. It's because of Nick Kroll. We didn't need Gavin Lux. We needed an outfielder. Then you wouldn't have this issue.
Well, the platoon, Lux and Austin Hayes in left field, right? I mean, there we go.
A guy who.
Yeah, that's what it'll end up being.
That's what it'll be. I mean.
I don't want Austin Hayes to be platoon. He needs to be an everyday player out there.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully,
he'll end up being a platoon for the first couple weeks, and then you'll be like, oh, that right field spot is hitting $180 collectively, so then he'll go play right field, and then here comes Stu.
Great.
Here comes Stu again. Stu will be the platoon. So.
I mean, they don't even have a backup center fielder. What team in the Major League Baseball goes into a season with no backup center fielder?
I guess Hayes would be the backup center fielder.
No, it's probably Fairchild. He'll forget how many outs there are every other game and stuff and throw to the wrong base every time. Because he can steal a home run once every month, we think he's like a great outfielder. You look at the stats, he's not a very good outfielder. He's not a good player, period.
Oh, all righty.
God, he wouldn't make 27 rosters. He wouldn't make.
Yeah, he'd probably make the Pirates.
Right. Okay. Yeah, your bottom feeder team, sure.
Hence why he's still with us.
So.
Oh, all right. I won't even go into, which guy
he's gonna hit. He's gonna start opening day, and he's gonna hit 2 home runs.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
Just like Martini.
And he'll hit 5 for the whole year after that. Yeah. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for him to bring Martini back. I can't believe he's not at least a, non-roster invitee minor league.
We're a CES wrist little problem away from him being back. Yeah.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. So I don't have the answer. It's like that's where Francona's going to earn his money.
That's true.
Crawl's giving him these parts, so now what are you going to do with them? I mean, that's to me, again, I think I said this a couple weeks ago whenever we were, that was our topic, was like, what are you looking forward to? What are you most kind of the biggest question for you? And for me, it's how do you deal with all these infield parts when you have too many infielders and most of them aren't very good defensive players. One of them has a bum shoulder. They can't get over anything. What do you do? So,
I find it kind of ironic that Jonathan India, the first 3 or 4 spring training games have been starting in left field for the Royals, right?
Right.
But okay, there we go. On that note, let's move into our rankings. This segment of the show, we like to rank our Area 6 teams over the course of the 4 weeks here. We've ranked, uniforms, stadium atmosphere, stadiums. This one going to be kind of interesting to see. But we're going to rank them 1 to 6, with number 1 obviously the most likely to happen, and number 6 the least likely to happen. And our category this week is the most likely to win a championship next. And we are talking coup de grace, right? The Super Bowl, the World Series, NCAA men's basketball championship, MLS championship, and then the NCAA football championship. So let's just go ahead, Sam. Why don't you start and just go 6 to 1? Just go ahead and read your list
all the way through.
All the way through. Then we'll go to Crawley, then we'll go to me, and then we'll just, if we have something that's eye-opening, way different, then we can.
Yep. All right, so my number 6, I think, should probably be everybody's number 6, is UC football. They're, in my opinion, without doubt, most far away. I really had a tie for 5, but I'm going to put Xavier in the 5 just because I don't like them. And then UC basketball in the 4. I don't think really either team is championship, not this year anyways, championship level. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. I have the Reds in my 3 spot. I don't think they'll do it this year, but I do think they're going to be in the playoff hunt. I've said that multiple times. I wouldn't be surprised if they get into the playoffs, but I just don't think they're quite ready for a World Series. Number 2 is the Bengals, and then number 1 is FC Cincinnati.
All right, Crawley.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. I have UC football last. If we're talking national championship, that's why I'd asked you about, if that's what we're talking, as opposed to just like Big 12 championship.
Correct.
Because I think the Big 12 football is just up in the air every year. So
every year it is.
But national championship, I mean, UC's best team maybe ever made it to the semifinals and couldn't run with Alabama that game. So and that's the best team ever. They're far from their best team ever right now. So yeah, they're definitely number 6. I put UC basketball number 5, just because I'm so disappointed in them this year. And Xavier's playing better. Xavier at this point might, has a good chance to be in the tournament. They put themselves in that position. I think they need to win. They still need to win out some more games. But so I put them 4. And then I put the Reds 3rd, not because I think the Reds are going to win any chance of winning the World Series, but they at least are probably much more in the mix for a playoff spot. So I put them 3rd, but I saw the 1 and 2 spots. There's a big gap between 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's much closer between 3, 4, 5, and 6 than it is between 2 and 3. So I put the Bengals 2nd. Only because they have Joe Burrow, not because I have any faith in the front office or anything else. It's one person, basically. And then I put FC Cincinnati 1st. I mean, they've had the most success over the last couple years of anybody, not even close. So they're the closest.
Yep. Mine's pretty similar to yours. I had UC basketball last, Carly, just because I think the Big 12 is just tough. And I mean, UC has proven right now that they, cannot compete on a night-to-night basis in the Big 12. And if you can't get to 500 in the Big 12, you're not making the tournament. Then I had UC football just because with the expansion of 12, might even go to 16 here. They get in there, you never know, right? I mean, you just never know what could happen. At 5, I had Xavier at 4, and then I had the Reds at 3, Bengals at 2, and then FC Cincinnati at 1. And it's pretty much the same reasons everybody has said so far. The interesting thing will be to see if these rankings would change after NFL free agency. And
not for me. Not unless there's major injuries or departures from FC Cincinnati. Whatever the Bengals do won't change my mind.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is, I think FC Cincinnati would be number 1, but I'm just saying if Bengals lose T, lose Trey.
If they drop to 3 or 4.
Yeah. That's Chase sits out because he's unhappy with his contract.
Unless come the All-Star break, the Reds are sitting there at 60-22. I don't think so.
Right.
All right. Let's go ahead and go on to our trivia. So once again, if you would like to play along with us, you can email us at csspodcast@gmail.com or find us on Twitter or Instagram at Cincy Sports Scene and leave a comment. We also post these on YouTube Shorts, so you can always find us there. We'd like to give a shout out to all the people that have watched our shorts. Our last 3 have been above 500, so we appreciate that. And you can go ahead and just leave a comment in the section there, in the comment sections on YouTube, if you know the answer. So, Crawley, you had last week's question. You want to go ahead and review that?
Yeah, to go along with our topic of the week, which was the geographical Mount Rushmore. I went with a question related to that, where rank the 4 geographical areas of the U.S. For NCAA basketball championships since 1939, the first championship. And the number 1 region was the Midwest. The second region that won the most basketball championships was the West, and then it was the East, and then it was the South.
All right. So this week.
Oh, actually, you know what? Oh. Actually, no. Sorry, because the South and East were really close. I think after we talked, I realized I had put the Texas thing in the wrong spot. So right. It was actually the South and the East.
And the East. Okay.
Yeah, South and the East.
All right. So now I have this week's trivia question, and it's an opening day since we're talking a little baseball here. Hopefully the weather starts warming up. Sun is shining today in Cincinnati, which is a good thing. It's cold, but it's
cold. It's not baseball weather that I want to sit out in.
No,
Not today.
I don't either. I don't know. You've done that enough.
Yeah.
Watching your kids play.
Check
and-
the box. I've checked that box off in my life.
Yes, me too. But here it is. All right, trivia. The Reds have had 2 opening day walk-off home runs in their history. Name the players and year it happened.
Day walk-offs.
One of them was Joe Randa, maybe.
Joe Randa, ding ding. Wait a minute. Let's.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I have no clue what year it was. I don't even remember my own years of my life. I don't remember years of anything.
2005. Joe
Yeah,
Randa.
I mean, I was gonna guess mid 2000s, but I had no idea what year. And then the other one was it the catcher? What was the catcher's name? He was like
The what time frame?
about that. Not a far off time
hitter?
frame from 05,
Pinch
06.
hitter?
Probably close.
Valentine?
Nah.
No.
Now, this guy was a legitimate catcher. They had just gotten him in a trade in the offseason.
Instant hero.
Yeah. He was a good catcher for the Reds for a couple years.
2011 is when it happened.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was going to say it wasn't
Ramon
super far.
Hernandez?
Ramon Hernandez.
go.
That's it.
Look at
Ramon
that.
Hernandez. That's
You
it.
guys
Yep.
don't mess around.
Yep.
Woo! You guys don't mess around at all. All right. We'll obviously edit that out on the clips just to give you a chance to answer that. Good job, gentlemen. Next week, it'll be Sam's turn with the question. Moving on to our topic of the week. We are going to play Commissioner for the Day. And what this entails is we're going to be the commissioner of each of the major sports leagues and also a wild card. So it's any other sport that we haven't seen yet or talked about. So the sports that we are going to be being the commissioners of: Major League Baseball, the NFL, NBA, NCAA football, NCAA basketball, and like I said, then a wild card. So that could be soccer, it could be golf, it could be women's volleyball. I mean, who knows, whatever you guys want. But you have you are the commissioner for that league, and you get, we don't want President Trump to have all the fun signing executive orders. So we're going to be commissioners and we're going to sign an executive order for ourselves and put a rule in place or take a rule away. It doesn't really matter, but we're just going to go around the horn here and find out what we have. And those of you that are listening, if you can come up with one better, let us know. Like I said, on all of our socials, look for Cincy Sports Scene and comment on it. All right. Who wants to go first?
I mean, I can go.
All right. Carly, where are we going?
Well, first off, most of these, a lot of them, I have 2 things.
Yeah,
do I just need to pick one and then we come back around and say?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
If there's anything else, we can
Yeah.
do that after we go through them all.
Okay.
I put down 2 just because I figured we probably have
Yeah.
a lot of
So let's start with MLB.
All right. Major League Baseball.
Yeah. So to deal with all the injuries, especially the pitching injuries that happen every year, and I mean, this would help the Reds a lot because, we're like hoping a prayer that all our top line guys can, get the 30 starts, whatever. To help that out, I'm reducing the season to 120 games. So I'm lopping off 40 games. So we don't need 40 more starts. So we don't need 30 starts from guys. They get whatever it would be 20. I didn't do the math, but 24 starts or 5 starts, for the 5 starters, they don't have to. So I'm hoping that those guys can get through a season now, be more likely to get through the season with less injuries. And across the board, it would help because of all the, pitching injuries. And that's not going to change because these guys are, throwing 100 miles an hour. And, you just compare the injuries to old school and, we're not having guys starting 35. Nobody's starting 35 games anymore, pitching even 200 innings and all that stuff. Complete games are a joke now and stuff. So I thought maybe reduce 100 to 120 games would help in that area. So that's my thing.
Okay.
Plus, we don't need 162 games. Whatever, that's way too long. No one pays attention to baseball for 162 games anymore. So
All right.
Like the COVID season was great in a way. So,
Well, I like the strike season in the NBA when they only played 50 games and
right.
every
Yeah.
game was meaningful, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, 60 games, whatever that was in the COVID season, the same thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so
All
there
right.
you go. That's mine.
Sam, what's yours?
Mine would be to implement the robot umps behind the plate just right away. Let's get balls and strikes right every single time.
Okay. Nice. What I would do is I would have a payroll floor and a payroll cap. Just people have to spend their damn money. Your fans are coming. You're getting, revenue sharing. You need to spend it on your team, your stadium, those type of things to make the fans experience enjoyable. And like with us, we're frustrated at the Reds because they're not spending their money, even though they say they put everything back into the ball club. Baloney, they don't. The A's is a perfect example. Pittsburgh's another one. So I think everybody has to be. I don't know what the floor would be: 100 million, 120 million. The cap, 200 million. Just make it so that everybody has a say and a chance, and hope and a prayer, right? So there we go. All right, Sam, where do you want to go next?
We will go. Let's go NCAA football.
All right.
So I am going to officially separate football from the rest of the NCAA. Still be the NCAA, but it's going to be its own thing. Their conferences are going to be separate, so we don't have Stanford basketball playing Duke basketball on a Tuesday. All right, that's completely separate. College basketball, lacrosse, baseball, volleyball, field hockey, all those other sports are more traditional regional conferences, and we're going to go football as its own thing. You can keep it how conferences are right now. We don't have to worry about realignment yet or whatever, but we're going to officially separate out college football.
All right. So for college football, for me, this is tough because there's two of them that I have, and they're both, I think, pretty good. But I think to go piggyback off of yours, I think when that happens, or if it happens, Sam, I think they will also split the playoffs. They'll have a G5 playoff, and the Power Four playoff, and then everybody else playoff. They'll have two separate playoffs. That's where I'm
three
going
separate
with it.
playoffs because they already have two.
Well, yes.
Two inside the FBS.
Yeah, yes. Carly, where are we going? Where are you going now with the football, NCAA football?
Yeah, I like those, especially that, splitting football off into its own entity. Mine's not nearly that good. Mine is all college football games are played on Saturday.
Yes.
No more freaking
Yes.
action on a Tuesday night. They're ridiculous. The 400 people that actually watch that, ridiculous. Like I used to have season tickets to Miami football, and as soon as they went to those Tuesday games, I stopped getting them because I'm not going to that game.
Right.
I'm not driving to Oxford on a Tuesday night and staying there till whatever. Like, so forget it. So that was the number one reason I dropped my season tickets when I did. So, yeah. So all college football is meant to be played on a Saturday, not on a Friday night either. That's high school football. And, so from I don't care what time, noon or 7:30, whatever, but it's every game is on a Saturday.
I like that. I like that a lot. Bring it back.
Too.
All right. So my next one, let's go to we're going to go to the NBA. And I'm not I've really stopped following the NBA here in the last couple of years, and I just lost interest in it. But I think one of the reasons is this, and I would put in a rule that eliminates load management. So in other words, if you are healthy and you decide to sit out, then a couple of things will happen. Your team gets fined, and the host team has to, or your team has to reimburse the fans that came to watch you play. And I think that would eliminate a lot of this load management BS.
So they don't care. They've tried. They have this games played minimum now for awards. They're trying.
That's for awards, but this is this. But if it hurts the franchise, so if the Los Angeles Lakers have to reimburse 50% of all sales because LeBron James decides, oh, my ankle's a little sore, so I'm going to sit out from a back-to-back, and they've got to pay that, I bet you they're going to put a lot more pressure on LeBron to play in back-to-back games.
Yeah, I still don't think it would. Dudes just don't care. They just straight up don't care. They're making $70 million a year. They don't care.
That's why the NBA has fallen down the drains.
Yeah.
All right, Carly, NBA. Commish.
Well, I'm going for a totally different issue with the NBA that has also caused the NBA, I think, to drop, and that's the 3-point shooting. That is just 3-point shooting. Basically, it's a 3-point shooting contest, and even like your backup center is shooting 3-pointers. So I'm extending the 3-point line, and I don't know what it is, but 25 feet, 26 feet, 29 feet. I don't care what it is, but whatever. I'm extending it to the point where only guys like Steph Curry should be regularly taking 3-pointers. I'm not saying just him, but your true shooters can still make them. He can still make them from 25 feet, 26 feet. But the issue is statistically, it's all about statistics. It's all about analytics now. And even the bad 3-point shooters can make 33% from where it is now. And so at that point, you shoot them because that's just as good as a 2-pointer at 50%. So I'm extending to the point. If I got to test it year after year to get it to the right number, that's what I'll do. And then that way, the vast majority of shooters will be below 33%. Once I hit that point, then the coaches are going to be like, no, we're not shooting 3-pointers anymore. That's a bad shot. So we're going back to like real basketball. And so whatever that number is going to be based on some analytical data that I gather over a couple years. So that's it.
All right. So
I've got my NBA one here.
Yep. Go ahead.
I've got two. I'm trying to narrow it down, see which one I want. I'm going to go with it, and this will actually, I think, help with the 3-point shooting, and it's to get rid of defensive 3 seconds. College doesn't have it. They don't have that issue. So allow your 7-footers to just camp out in the paint and kind of, I actually think that will help with 3-point shooting as well.
Okay. Where we going next, Carly?
What do we got? NFL, I guess.
Yeah, NFL.
Okay.
Basketball and NCAA basketball.
And the wild card. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. We'll go NFL.
Okay.
This one came to me is right away. It's not like some groundbreaking one. But this is by far my number one of probably anything on the list we've talked about. Super Bowl Saturday. No such thing as ridiculous on basically a weeknight, Sunday night for a Super Bowl. Should be Super Bowl Saturday or Monday is a national holiday. Either of those work. I don't care which way you go with it, but either of those two.
Well, they are. There is talk.
The President's Day weekend, right?
Yeah, so, right. If it goes 18 games, then they get the double bye.
Well, I don't need to move it to President's Day weekend and just make Super Bowl Saturday. Then you got to worry about it.
That's right. There you go. All right, Sam. NFL.
So mine is get rid of all international games. We don't need those. They're so stupid. I don't give a crap if people across the pond can watch football at, they're 3 p.m. on a Sunday. Like, no, make them stay up. The Champions League isn't coming over here and playing games. Premier League isn't coming over here and playing games. Yeah, they do it in the preseason or whatever, but when it actually matters, they're not coming over here. All right, I got to wake up early if I want to watch those games. People with the messed up teeth, they can do the same thing. Okay, we don't need these international games. especially when they're putting one in Brazil, and you've got two teams that are green, and you literally can't wear green in that city because they will kill you. So, like, what are we doing here? Like, Roger, it's crazy.
It's all about the money. It's all about
Yeah, no.
money.
We're 5 years away from a Super Bowl being in London, by the way. So this needs to be stopped now.
Yeah. So mine is I had one similar to yours, Sam, but I'll save that for later. But mine is the NFL is a billion-dollar entity, multi-billion-dollar entity, and we have part-time officials. We need to hire full-time referees, and then they need to be graded every game, and the ones that suck, get them out, fire them, and then they're the playoffs are all merit based, and it's not hey, my crew goes. It is the best referee, the best line judge, the best this, the best that, and then they go in those games, and that might help these so-called scripted games. I don't know if it will or if it won't, but that's what I said. Pay them well and benefits, all that good stuff. Full-time referees. They don't need to be State Farm agents and then trying to go out there and ref a football game on a Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. Because they get treated completely different. They get treated like they're volunteers. Like, hey, we're trying our best out here. Like,
right.
No. Yeah,
right.
Make them full-time. I agree.
Make them full-time. All right, Sam. So we've got NCAA basketball or wild card. Where do you want to go?
I guess we'll go NCAA basketball. And I am going to change it up just slightly. It's not too much. And this is piggybacking off of my separating football already. And so that is changing the conferences to more regionalized, like true regionalized conferences. And also every conference has the same number of teams. I don't need a conference with 16 and one with 10. They all have whatever number you want it to be, 12, 10. I don't know. I didn't do any math or anything like that. But they all need to have the same amount of teams and the same format for the conference tournament.
Okay. For basketball, I had this one's a little. I don't know how. I think when the game is stopped for a review, the players should not be allowed to huddle with the coach. Sometimes you are out of timeouts, especially in the last 2 minutes of the game, and that is a free timeout, especially for the team that is down. Right? Hey, we can huddle up and no. You have to stand on the floor away from your coach, and the coach wants to shout instructions so the other team can hear. Have at it. But I just think that is just no. That's not the intent of the rule, and these coaches are using it as an extra timeout or extra 4 timeouts, and we don't need that.
Okay, my turn. Basketball.
Yep.
I'm going kind of striking at the heart of what's going on, and I could apply this to football as well, college football. The transfer issues, which is just changing football and basketball crazy. UC literally could have a whole new team next year. Xavier's had a whole new team the last 2 years. I mean, literally. So you're allowed one free transfer. So giving them a chance, you get one free transfer. You don't even playing for 4 teams in 4 years. Okay, you should be out the door at that point. Go, be a truck driver or something. Because you're not going to the NBA if you're doing that. So you get one free transfer. But on the flip side, because the argument always is, well, the coaches can leave whenever they want. Blah 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 blah. Not in my rules. Okay, they have a substantial, and I'd come up with a very strong number, 50%, 95%, whatever it would take. If a coach breaks a contract, they owe so much money of that contract back to the school. So they get, like a penalty fee on top of what they're losing out in terms of breaking the contract. So they would have to give up a lot of their money to be able to break a contract. So it's not free for them either.
All right. That's a good one. All right, we're gonna go to the wild card category. So I get that, and I'm going golf for my wild card. And basically, what I want to see is a Ryder Cup style match every year against. I want the PGA versus Live every year. One year it'll be at a PGA venue, another year it'll be at a Live venue, and just back and forth. I just want to see it. And I think that would be really exciting. Might almost rival the regular Ryder Cup. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it'd be interesting to see that.
That'd be fun.
All right, Sam, your wild card.
My wild card, so I cheated a little bit here. My wild card encompasses all sports with an instant replay review. You get 1 minute. If after 1 minute of review, you can't change the call, it's whatever you called on the floor or field, whatever playing surface you're on. You get 1 minute. If you want to make the argument, 90 seconds, fine. But that's the absolute max I'm willing to go. We don't need 5-minute reviews. This is especially college basketball. I watched a Texas A&M game maybe 2 weeks ago, and the final 2.5 minutes took 36 minutes in real time. That's unacceptable. You can't do that. And also, it holds these officials accountable. Like, you've got to get the calls right. You can't rely on replay to bail you out, because that's what they're doing. They're making calls. They've got no idea, and they're just picking something, and then because they have no idea, they're taking 10 minutes to review it. Now, you better be watching. Watch the ball, watch the lines, all right? Because otherwise, you got a minute to get it right. This is for, obviously it's designed for egregious, clear and obvious type stuff. What replay was initially put in for, not to see, oh, this dude's holding the ball, they slapped it out of his hand. Did it hit his pinky on the way out? Like, actually, pretty much every time that happens, yes, it did. But in the first half of the game, you're not reviewing it. So why are you reviewing? You get what I'm saying? You get a minute. That's it.
Yep.
And I'd even venture no slow motion, but that might be a little too far.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah. My one was soccer. Not MLS necessarily, but across the board soccer. In extra time, it's golden goal, so sudden death from here on out. No scoring a goal, and then you got to play another 35 minutes, and hope, or what would be 35, but 25 minutes. And I also hate penalty kicks. Absolutely hate it. Maybe my least. Soccer has my favorite element of it, and it has my least favorite element in terms of the organization. Most favorite, relegation. All sports should have relegation. Maybe I should have used that as my thing, my across the board. But as my least favorite, which is penalty kicks. Baseball doesn't settle the World Series Game 7 with a home run derby. The NBA doesn't settle Game 7 of the finals with the three. I mean, they almost do because that's all they do is shoot 3-pointers. But officially a three. I mean, that's the same thing. That's what penalty kicks is. No other sport has a garbage ending like that to such a. I mean, a World Cup. I mean, we're talking the World Cup, the greatest sports tournament in the world, in anything, and it's settled by fake soccer. So to deal with that, no more penalty kicks. And I don't care that guys' legs will fall off. They better be in shape. Guys can run ultra marathons out there, 100 miles. So they got to be in good enough shape to keep playing. Plus, they get 5 subs. Give them one more sub. Give them one more sub. That's half your team. Half your team is out off the field now. So you can sub in. So give them one more sub, whatever. But from then on, it's just extra time after extra time after extra time. 15 minutes, sudden death, golden goal. Boom. We get a winner. Real soccer.
I like it.
All right. Perfect. Okay. So those of you out there, if you like this and you have one that we didn't think of, go ahead and shoot us an email at csspodcast@gmail.com and or on our Instagram feeds. But before we go, any other ones that you considered real quick for being a commish of the day?
I did consider, like Crawley said, relegation, like across the board. especially in college football, how I have it separated out. You can go up. You've got a group of 20 teams here, and essentially you'd be getting rid of the college football playoff because you could go a group of 16 teams, round robin it. Winner is your national champion. Loser gets relegated. The winner of that conference comes up. You can do it again next year, type thing.
Yeah, I mean, MLB, I was going to say yours, Dave, that you said the salary floor, salary cap. NFL, I had eliminate. Well, you can't completely eliminate it, but highly reduce roughing the passer and defensive pass interference. 2 garbage calls. Those are both a bunch of garbage calls. I'd go back to the old roughing the passer, where the quarterback, you get after the 2 or 3 steps, you take the quarterback's head off. Okay, that's a penalty. But none of these Patrick Mahomes exploit the system, crappy roughing the penalty calls. So I would reduce all those calls. I got NCAA football. I hate that targeting is an automatic ejection. That's stupid. So I put that in. And basically, I'm trying to help the defense here. All these stupid rules, all these rules are just so slanted to the offense. And then they still don't even take advantage of them. You still get 10-7 scores. So you might as well give some help back to the defense, So there you go.
I had a couple that went along with your guys's, for Sam, for football, I was like, go along with the international, get rid of that Thursday night game. Guys don't want to play a Thursday night. I mean, your body is just
it's
crappy. And this past year there was tons of crappy games on Thursday night.
Oh, every year is that. You're right.
Well, nobody wants to watch it on Prime either. I'm sorry.
Get rid of these streaming services. Put it on real TV channels.
Yep.
And if you choose to go the YouTube TV route like we did, that's still streaming it, but put it on a real channel.
Right. And then like for football, and this goes with your basketball thing, but I want, you said the equal number of conferences, those type of things. I had equal number of conference games because right now the SEC only plays 8, and
Big Ten's got 9, Big 12's got 9, I think too. Right.
And it's like, we're the toughest conference, so we have to play one less game. Hogwash. And then to go along with yours, Crawley, about basketball with the one-time transfer, I had that, but I also had they get the one try unless the coach is fired. If the coach is fired, then they can leave. If if you came in and then the coach gets fired, you can leave. That was mine. And then the last one for baseball is the World Series needs to end in October, and all games have to start at 7:30 p.m. if it's a night game. If not, get it back to the afternoon when baseball was meant to be played.
You only played 120 games. It'd be easy to end in October.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have to start it in March. You can start it mid-April when the weather's a little warmer.
Yeah,
so you don't have all these. I like that. All right. There you have it. So next week on our show, we're going to be talking a little bit of the conference tournaments. We'll recap if there's any conference tournaments. If anybody's made the dance by winning their conference championship. Well, actually, I think it's just going to be starting conference week. The big boys, anyhow. And then Crawley has a couple of games that he wants to bring out, and we're gonna play that for your entertainment. So hopefully you've got some good games for us here, Crawley, and the fans will
little rapid fire questions.
Little rapid fire questions type of thing. So until next week, for Charlie and Sam, I am Dave. Thanks for listening, and please hit that like and subscribe button. Until next week, take care, everybody.
See you.
See you later.